Welcome into the Sunday edition of the In the Money podcast for KeenelandSelect.com. Tom Leach along with Jim Goodman, Keeneland's Director of Mutuals and Simulcasting. We should remind you that Sunday is Keeneland Select Appreciation Day at Keeneland, so hope to see a lot of folks out there that are regular Keeneland Select players. We'll have a special program in the sales pavilion if you're coming out for Appreciation Day that will include one of the top handicappers, Mike Maloney, doing a talk. He talked to the group a couple of years ago, gave them a nice winner, so who knows? Maybe history will repeat itself there. Jim, we're going to take a look at the feature on Sunday, which is an allowance race, and then the late pick 4. The feature is the 8th race. Who'd you like in that allowance?
It's a fairly evenly matched allowance race except for the 5 horse. I thought Hazard of Love here with the buyer figures and with Corey Lannery riding for Chris Richard at 34%, and Chris Richard being 24% first trainer, not off the claim, but they just switched it from Tom Amos. I thought Hazards of Love was probably going to be a deserving favorite here. I don't think he's a standout that you could single in pick 4. So in the pick 4, I would also use Zambian Dream, Chilean shipper for Todd Pletcher, who's run a couple times in North America at Saratoga. Looks like he was well intentioned up there. Got bet down to 4-1 and 3-1, and had the lead going to the top of the stretch in the last race, and just kind of gave it up at a mile and 3/16. Might appreciate the drop back to a mile and 1/16 here. And you always got to look at Pletcher horses shipping here. Jack Tripp, the 7, wired a little bit cheaper field at Churchill Downs on September the 11th, and Eagle, the 6. 3-year-old taking on Elders. I don't know that that's a great angle, but the horse was really well meant last year. Almost won the Kentucky Jockey Club, and then came back in the Lecomte, didn't do well at Fairgrounds, and was laid off for a little while. So very talented horse for Neil Howard, just has had some injury problems, and maybe this second back against Elders would be a wake-up for him. Hazards of Love, the 5 would be my choice. I would use the 6, 7, 8 underneath in the trifectas and the exactas.
Well, we're on the same horses, just in a different order. I like Eagle. This was a horse that I remember somebody at Churchill told me last summer that Neil Howard thought this could be his Derby horse, and it didn't work out that way. You know, you certainly could have believed that after that Jockey Club race in November at Churchill, but 3-year-old year hasn't panned out like they thought. So they gave him time off, and he came back off the layoff, ran short, and ran okay. I think he really improves a lot off that. And I also like that he's 1 for 1 at Keeneland. He won here at, I think, about 5-1 last year in a really impressive performance. So Eagle's my pick, and I'm going to use him with the horses you mentioned, the 7, the 8, and the 5 in exactas. But Eagles is the one that I like to win the allowance feature on the Sunday card at Keeneland. The late pick 4 will start in the 6th race, and you've got 2-year-olds, a really looks fairly wide open group there. The horse I picked was Synchrony in the 6th race, who I thought ran against a pretty good horse in his debut down at Churchill. But Silvertown looks really strong in there. The 3, the 7 I like a little bit as well. I could go others, but I'm going to use a ticket that's 3 by 3 by 3 by 3, so just a unusually balanced ticket. So I'll take 11, 3, 7 on the first leg. Mission Driven was my pick in the 7th. I'll use the 4, Mission Driven, with the 6 and the 14. And if the 14 doesn't draw in, throw in a couple of more horses maybe in that first leg on your ticket. In the allowance feature, I'm going to use 6, 7, and 8. Eagles the pick. In the 9th race, my pick is the 7 Nancy Ride, and I will use also the 6 and the 11. How about you?
The first leg, I will go ahead and take a stand with Silvertown. I think Keneally's horse looks like I stand out on numbers. I can make a case for a couple of horses that you mentioned, but I will go ahead and try to spread out later. So I'm going to single the 3 there. I'm going to use the 2, 4, 6, 9, and the 14. If he draws in, Mr. Maestro, the 2 would be my pick there, but I would go 5 deep, 2, 4, 6, 9, 14. And in the feature race, I would use the 4 horses that I talked about, the 5, 6, 7, 8, with probably Hazards of Love. If you can't afford the ticket, that would single Hazards of Love rather than go 4 deep. And in the last race, which is a wide-open turf race, I would use 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I would go 6 deep there. My pick would be Queen of Scat, the most consistent horse, but wouldn't bet a lot of money on on her by herself. So I would go deep there with 6. So I would go 3 single the first leg, by 5, by 4, by 6, which is $60.
By the way, we neglected to mention on yesterday's podcast the great call Jim had on Thursday. Quality Bird, I think it was, in the feature at 5-1, and I think you really were high on her. She ran big for Mary Lou Whitney. Ian Wilkes had a couple of winners that day. I had Ageless and the horse that won the last race in my pick 4 play. I used That's Why was my pick. So we've given you a little value, hopefully, in the last couple of days. Hopefully a little bit more on the Sunday card at Keeneland. Again, remember, Keeneland Select Appreciation Day. Jim, we should take just a second here to remind folks about the Breeders' Cup situation. If they don't have tickets to Keeneland, they can still come to the Red Mile and play via simulcasting, right?
They can. We've got something called the Breeders' Cup Bash at Red Mile that is going to be a nice event. If you haven't seen the Red Mile simulcasting facility, it's very comfortable. The parking is great. We've got the new instant racing facility open down there, and simulcasting is going to be available there. It's a $10 general admission ticket, includes a free program. That's a $6 program, so you really get in for $4. If you want reserve seats as well with a buffet, you can pay $40 and have a place to sit all day with great TV reception and very comfortable atmosphere at Red Mile, and not away from the madding crowd a little bit. But Red Mile is a very good option if you don't have Breeders' Cup tickets.
Best of luck on your Sunday wagers, and we'll be back with more podcasts when the fall meet resumes on Wednesday, October 14th. This is the In the Money podcast for KeenelandSelect.com.